So for this project, I'm going to use a 4.5, and then I'm going to use some of this. This is just a Red Heart Super Saver. It's just a 4-weight. It's not worsted or anything. I can open it. So that's the brand I'm using. It is really, really nice yarn. So it doesn't come in cakes. I make all my stuff into cakes. It comes in balls. And I got it at Michael's. So we're going to begin. Oh, see, and I've already got a knot. How do I do this to myself? I pull some out to make my life easy. So we're going to make a magic circle with 10 single crochets because we want this guy nice and plumpy. Got your magic ring with your 1 single crochet already, or your chain 1, sorry. So 10 single crochets. Now you're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch. If you're going to use a stitch marker, you're going to put it in after this first stitch. Me, I'm just going to count to 20. So the stitch marker would go in now before your second stitch. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So that's 1 single crochet with your stitch marker. And then your increase in the next stitch. So at the end of this you should have 30 stitches. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet. So repeat that all the way around and I will see you on the other side. So I'm done my 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Your next round is going to be, rounds are going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. And at the end you should have 40 stitches. And then your 1 single crochet. So that's number 1. Always count the stitch marker spot as number 1. That's number 2. And then your increase of 2 in the same space. And repeat 1, 1, 2 all the way around. So your next rounds are going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. It brings you up to 50 stitches. So that's number 1. 3 single crochets and then 2 in this space. And your increase. So you're going to repeat this all the way around. At the end you should have 50 stitches. So this is what you should have. This is what it should look like. So we're going to switch to your coat color. So whatever you've decided that your boots, your coat, and your hat are going to be, we're going to switch. So we're not going to do a normal color change like you see others doing. You know, you just put the new color on, you pull it through, you make a stitch. Then you got to weave in both ends. You got to weave in the tail, and then the yarn you were using. So you got to weave in that for a bit. I don't like to do two. So to get away with just weaving in one, I'm going to back up just a few stitches before the stitch marker, and this is where I'm going to add my next color. I'm not going to use my next color, I'm just going to add my next color. So I'm just going to hold it back here like you would do if you're weaving. I'm going to continue to use my skin color. I'm going to go in and I'm just going to weave the next color in before I get to my marker. So now that's weaved in. So now I'm at my marker, and you can't see it from the front. So now I'm at my marker. So I'm going to be doing 4 more rows of 1 single crochet with my coat color, whatever color you're using. So I'm going to drop my brown and I'm going to pick up the green. So for a short little while, I'm going to weave in the brown. I don't technically need a stitch marker because I've switched colors, but. So I'm going to weave in my brown for a little bit, cut it off, and then continue to make my 4 rows of the new color. So that's what my 4 rows looks like. So we are going to start decreasing, still using the coat color. So we're going to do a 3 single crochet decrease. So that's number 1 with your stitch marker. 3 single crochets, and then your decreases, you go in, you grab some yarn, pull through, don't do anything. Go into your next stitch, grab some yarn, pull through. You have 3 loops. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. That's your decrease. So 3 single crochets and your decrease. So repeat that all the way around, and at the end you should have 40 stitches. And then to make sure you have 40 stitches, you're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and I will see you on the other side. So we are going to be changing to our skin color. So I'm going to start weaving in here. So I've got 2 extra stitches because I screwed up obviously somewhere, so I'm just going to do a decrease right here. And that brings it down to 30 stitches. So you should have 30 stitches. So we're going to change back to skin color, and then we're going to do 3 rows of just 1 single crochet in each stitch around. And then we're going to increase for the head. So I'm going to drop my green and pick up my brown. Pull down on your green to tighten, or whatever color you're using, you know what I mean. So 3 rows, 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and I will meet you on the other side. Alright, I got my 3 rows done. Now before we continue, I'm gonna put some stuffing in this bad boy. And I had an idea while I was doing my 3 rows. So, we are a family of Irish. Since I'm doing green, I thought I should just make him an Irish gnome. So if you press on it and it bounces back, you probably have enough. If it doesn't bounce back, you need more. So that's fine for now. I'm going to be jamming some down later. I don't want this to be hard to hold either. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. So we're increasing for the head at this point. He's just a short little guy outside of his hat. His hat's pretty tall. So that's 1, 2 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 in the same stitch. So you can do this all the way around. We're not going to be doing our 1 single crochet in the middle. I'm just trying to get my numbers up to a certain number. So you should have 40 when you're done with this. And then we're going to do something weird. Stay tuned. So this is what you should have so far. Your next round is going to be 7 single crochets and an increase, which is a little backwards to, I mean not backwards, but it's different than what we normally do. We normally go up in order, and this time we're just not. This time we're going to kind of go out of order, and the reason being is just because I didn't want to go up in that big of a number. I only wanted to go up by 5, so this kind of does that. So that's my first one. It's hard to hold now that I've stuffed it. Seven single crochets and then your increase. So this is only going to increase it to 45 stitches. And then we're going to do 3 rows, 1 single crochet in each of those 45 stitches, and I'll see you on the other side. So I got my 3 rows done. So from here, because we did something weird on our last round before our 3 rows, our numbers are going to be odd. So the next, we're going to start decreasing for the head. Sorry, I'm trying not to sneeze right now. My allergies are killing me. So we're going to do 4 single crochets and a decrease. And at the end of that, we should have 37 stitches, which is an odd number considering what we started with. So there's my 4 single crochets and then my decrease. So do that all the way around and I'll meet you on the other side. So we can go ahead and stuff this before we continue, because we are going to be closing off the head. Make sure you're keeping this hourglass shape. That's the shape you want. Might have to do one more round and then shove some more down there. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease, which is going to leave you 14 stitches. Oh geez, I almost buried my stitch marker. So it's 1 single crochet, so your next is your decrease. And repeat. So because this is going to be mostly all nose and hat, I'm not super worried about how I close it up, but we still want it to look decent. I'm going to shove some more down in there. Just want to make sure it's nice and solid for, you know, sewing stuff too, and, you know, having enough stuffing in there. So your next round is going to be 7 decreases, which will close up the head just about entirely, because you only have 14 stitches, and then we're just going to sew the rest shut. So you don't need your stitch marker anymore, so you're just going to go right into a decrease, and you're going to do 7 of them. So that's 7. So you should have 7 stitches left. You can go into your next stitch and you can fasten off. So you just need enough of a tail to sew the top shut and then weave in a little bit. You don't need a huge super amount. But you do want to weave. Weaving is good. Got really dark in here. I lost my sunlight. So you're going to go in just under 1 piece of yarn. You're going to go in and then out the next stitch. Now some people just like to skip a stitch. I just like to do all of them. You don't need to pull yet. So in there and out there. In and out. All the way around to get back to where you fastened off. I just got an oddball stitch sticking up, so I'm just going to go in there and then I'm just going to pull, and that closes them right up. So once you've closed him, you can come across to the other side, go through the little loopy you just made, and then give a nice snug pull, and then we're just going to weave. We're going to weave this guy around till we don't have any more to weave. No, we're not going to do that much. So weave a couple of times, 3 different directions, in and out. Go in as close as you can to your tail so it just looks like a stitch. It's not going to be noticeable. So it just looks like a stitch. So then I like to just tie a knot and then poke it down with my scissors, till hoping that that knot gets jammed. If anything were to happen, which it's not going to, we're just sewed a head shut, but just for precautionary, is that a word? There we go. That's your little Gnome guy so far. Okie dokie. Okay. So I had to turn the light on because it was very dark in here. So we're going to build onto the bottom of this, the coat part on the bottom of your green. So you're going to need your coat color and your needle. So wherever your back is, we're going to flip it to exactly the front. So you absolutely, and I mean, you can mark it with a stitch marker if you want. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, that's my back. I want that covered by the coat. So we're actually going to start in the front. But we're going to leave 2 stitches. So if you want this exactly in the middle, we're going to build around, but we're going to be 2 stitches short. So these 2 stitches aren't going to get worked. So we're just going to start over just a little bit on the side right here, just so my coat split is in the middle. You can mark it with a stitch marker if you want to. So once you find where you're starting, you're going to make a slip knot. So cross that over, make an X. You're going to pull up on this guy. You're going to grab the guy underneath. Let me do that again because I lost the guy. Pull that guy up and grab this dude. I know, it's so hard to see. You're going to make this small enough to fit on the end of your hook. Then you're going to pull it through what we call a post. And you're going to make a stitch. Then you're going to move on to your next post. And you're going to make a stitch. So you're going to make a stitch all the way around, but you're going to stop at this post. This post here will be your last post. Those two aren't going to get worked. That's going to be the split in his coat, so it looks like a coat and not a dress. So don't worry about your tension here either. The biggest part about this project is going to be the hat. So we're going to save that till later. We're going to get the nose done, and we're going to get, he doesn't really have a face other than a nose. We'll get the nose done, we'll get the arms done and the legs done. And then this coat, and then we'll do this ginormous hat. Then we'll do the beard. That's the order that I may change my mind, but so far that's the order I've got in my head that I'm going to do this. So we'll see what happens. So I am around back and I am a little higher than where this is, but we're doing 4 rows of the coat, so it won't even be noticeable. So as we get closer, you'll notice, because we built in a spiral, that this is a little higher than where you started, and that's okay. So these are the 2 stitches we're not working. I've got 2 stitches left. At this point, I'm going to come down just like that. It won't be noticeable, trust me. And then I'm going to make my couple of other ones here, leaving those 2 unworked. So at the end of the day, I don't know if you can tell, you don't really notice the dip down because it's only in those 2 spots. Actually 1 spot and then a couple other stitches. So at this point, leaving this unworked, you're going to chain 1. You're going to put 1 stitch in. We want it to look like a coat at the bottom, an open, like a peacoat type thing. So generally you'd go into this first stitch, but a lot of people don't even know there's a stitch there, honestly. You're going to go into the next stitch because you want it to flare out this way and this way. You don't want it to. So even this last stitch here, you're not going to go into. Make sense? So you're basically skipping the stitch that everybody skips anyway because they don't know there's a stitch there. So, and that's just to make the coat, because you don't want it just to be straight down. I mean, if you do want it to be straight down, then by all means you can do that. So we're going to do 4 rows like this. So once you get to the other end, you're going to chain 1, you're going to turn, and you're going to do it again. And each time you're going to go into the next stitch and not the first stitch. Just because you want it to flare out. Or if you don't want it to flare out, you can do whatever you want. I'm not going to do all 4 rows with you because this video would be hours long. So we've got a lot to do still. I'm going to let you go and I will see you on the other side. So I've come around to the other side and I just wanted to show you what I was talking about. So once I chain 1 and I turn, I'm not going to go into this stitch. I'm going to go into this stitch. So skip that stitch after you've chained 1 and turn, not before. I just don't think I said it right, so I just kind of wanted to show you what I was talking about. So skipping the stitch after you've chained 1 and turned. Alright, so I'm at the end of my coat, and you see how doing what we did kind of flared it out to look like a coat. So I'm just going to slip stitch and fasten off here. You just need to fasten off enough to weave your end in. So you can weave right down the side and then go into the doll. But when you pull, just make sure you're not distorting that. And then I just go in as close as I can to my lead. I'm just going to weave in back and forth. Not really necessary to tie a knot. And then this guy right here, you can just stick down into the doll and do the same thing, just kind of weave him. So that's my guy with his little coat. You can make it longer if you want. It's all up to you. I just thought if I made it longer it might look like a dress. So let's move on to the nose. Let's do the nose. The nose is fairly quick and easy peasy. So get your skin color. You're gonna make a magic ring. You're going to put 6 single crochets. Pull tight. You're going to put 2 single crochets in each of those 6 stitches, so you're going to end up with 12. You don't really need a stitch marker, just count to 12. You're going to put 1 single crochet in an increase. You're going to need your stitch marker. 1 single crochet. Your next stitch gets 2 single crochets. That's your increase. One single crochet, 2 single crochets. So you do that all the way around. You're going to have 18 stitches when you're done. And I seem to have one more stitch left, so I have an extra stitch, obviously. So I am just going to do a decrease. So I should have 18 stitches. Yes, I have 18. I'm not sure where I screwed up there, but I screwed up, but that's how easy you can fix a screw up. So you're going to do 2 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch, so it should really concave itself. It should really start curling around. So you'll have to turn it that way. So from here we're going to do 1 single crochet and a decrease, which takes you down to back down to 12 stitches. One single crochet and a decrease. I think this tail's a little too long. I'm just going to give it a little wee snip. So you're going to do 6 decreases, and then you can stuff it and sew your top shut. You can stuff it now if you want. And that's my 6. So we're gonna have to stuff this little guy before. I'm just gonna pull on that. Make sure my bottom's closed, because that's the part you're gonna see on the face. It's not gonna take much stuffing, just a wee little bit in there. It's such a nice round nose, so you don't really need, it's already nice and round, so you don't really need to stuff it so to make it round, you know what I mean? You can decide to put as much or as little as you want in there. I want mine kind of hard because the hat's going to be just kind of draped over it. So I don't want it to be pokey soft. Do you know what I mean? The terminologies I use, I tell you. So once you're satisfied with what you got in there, we're just going to fasten off, and we're going to sew the rest of it shut. So just go into your next stitch, slip stitch. You need a sewing tail to sew this to the head. So you're going to do the same thing we did last time. We're going to go in and out. In and out. That's my fasten off point, so I'm just going to kind of squeeze in and out. And then you can just pull, close up the top. Now we're sewing this to his face, but I still want to come across and make a knot, because I just really don't want that to open. So make it nice and round. You're going to come here. You're going to keep this fairly low this does absolutely not have to be high on his face. This is where the hat's sitting. Let me show you with my other guy. So this is my other guy. My hat is sewn on, but that's his head. The top of his head's literally right there, and then underneath here, that's how close it is. It's literally 1, 2, 3, the bottom of the 4th row, because the hat is supposed to come down and sit on his nose like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm on the bottom of the 4th row. So I know it seems like it's really low, and it also seems like it's really big, but once you get the beard on and the hat on, it doesn't seem like that. So you may know how to sew this on better than I can show you, because I don't sew well, but I'm gonna try to make my stitches invisible. I just don't think I'm gonna have much luck doing that with this. So I'm not sure how I sewed the last one on, I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure I just grabbed some stitches from both the doll and the nose, and then so I'm just trying to stay underneath and going into the doll, and I'm just kind of angling. But I got one of these here, I'll show you in a second. So I've got one of these needles that has a hook end on it. So I'm just going in, grabbing what I can of the nose and back out. So it's so hard to show on camera, but go ahead and sew your nose on any which way that you feel is working out for you, and I'll meet you back here after. So I've come all the way back around. I'm going to go into it one last time. If I can get into it. And I'm going to weave my end. There we go. So it looks pretty ridiculous, doesn't look much like a gnome, but it will. So we're gonna leave the hat for last because it is super big. Let's go back to your coat color and we'll get some feet done. I'm still using the 4.5. So you're going to put 8 single crochets into this magic ring. Pull. You're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So I'm just going to count to 16. You can use your stitch marker if you want. That's my 16. You can pull your middle closed all the way now. You're going to do 1 single crochet and an increase. That's my 1 single crochet. My next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in each stitch. Or in this stitch. And then repeat. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets. So you can do that all the way around, and at the end you should have 24 stitches. Okay, so now we're gonna get weird. So I want a shape to the foot. I just don't want it just to be a plain old stupid looking foot. I want to put a shape to it because gnomes are known for their great big honking feet, right? So this is what I decided to do. First of all, put your stitch marker in. So that's number 1. You're going to do 5 single crochets. That's number 1. So do 4 more. You should have 5 altogether. Then you're going to do 4 half double crochets. Then you're going to do 6 double crochets. Then you're going to do the same thing backwards, 4 half double crochets. And 5 single crochets. Takes you right back to your marker and leaves you with 24 stitches. So now we're gonna, I know a lot of people are not gonna like this, but now we need to bring it from the bottom of a foot to a foot. So you're gonna do 1 single crochet in each stitch, but you're only gonna do the back loops only. So it's not as bad as it sounds. This is your back loop. That's your back loop. So they're standing right up and they're looking right at you. So it's not like you're going to have to turn it over. It's not going to be hard to find. They're right there. So that's what you're going to go into. Only. So put your stitch marker in. Don't worry about stretching it out. It will go back into shape. I use my thumb. Or this finger. And I just put it on the back of the stitch and I kind of just push it on to the hook. Just so I'm not struggling to get that back loop on. So I'm almost not going into the stitch, but pushing that piece. I just might have pushed 2 pieces there. So don't worry about stretching it out like this. It will go back into shape, as you can see. So there is a reason why we do this. So you've just created this ridge all along there. This is going to take it from a foot to a foot, if that makes sense. I talk with my hands, but sometimes I don't get it out there what I'm trying to say. So your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of the 24 stitches you should have. And this time we're going to go into the entire stitch. So we're going to go back to normal. So this is what it should look like at this point. So we're going to get weird again, because that's what we do on this channel. So put your stitch marker in here, 1. We're going to do 2 single crochets and a decrease. We're only going to do it 4 times. I'm still shaping the foot. So that's our 1, 2 single crochets and a decrease 4 times. And then you're going to do 8 single crochets, and this should leave you 20 stitches. So we're still staying weird. Your next round you're going to do 2 single crochet and a decrease 3 times. That's number 1. 2 single crochets and then your decrease, that's 1 time. That's 2 times. That's 3 times. And then 18 single crochets back up to your marker. Or sorry, 8 single crochets back up to your marker. You should have 18 stitches. So at this point I have 18 stitches. So we're going to do another decrease because I want to get down to 12. I want the legs to be that big. So we're going to do another decrease. 1 single crochet decrease. So there's your 1 single crochet. And then your decrease. So I wasn't able to get my other decrease in, that's fine, I just put 2. So I just want you to have 12 stitches. So the next 4 rows, you're going to do 1 single crochet in each of those 12 stitches. And then you can stuff it. You can sew the top shut. I'll come back and sew the top shut with you. And then we'll sew it on. We'll sew both the legs on after you make your second leg. So I'm going to put my pause screen up. One of them is going to say what you're doing now. Then the next screen for the pattern on what you have to do. And then we'll come back and meet up and sew our top shut and sew our legs on. So I have a ginormous mess here, but I've got my feet done. They don't look very big. They're not supposed to be big. So I've fastened off with both of them, and I left enough to sew with. So just go into your next stitch. You're just going to pull this through. So when you pull, that should even that up a bit better. We're sewing the top shut. So we're just going to do a whip stitch. Now, a whip stitch is generally back loop to back loop, but I'm going to go through all of the stitches, like the whole entire stitch. So if you don't pull that through, you're going to end up with a big bump here. That's why I said pull through. So just go stitch for stitch. This doesn't have to be pretty. So that's what it should look like. It's just a little nubby. So once you've got that done, you can take your little dolly. And I've got that I sewed mine on the 5th row from the center and 4 inches apart. So that's what it's supposed to look like. You make it any longer and it's gonna look silly. And then when you pick it up, it's just gonna flop down. So we don't really want it any longer. Actually, I'm gonna move it down a bit too. I think I put mine up too high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm gonna go the 4th row. I just want the toe sticking out. That's all I want. But I don't want it so low that it's not gonna sit up on his own. Because, I mean, he needs to kind of sit up on his own. Yeah, I think that'll work. So I'm going to do the 4th row with that guy. So I'm going to get my next guy together. I'll pin that on and see what it looks like. As I said that I did them 4 inches apart. So we shall see. Once you figure out where you're gonna have it, we're just gonna do invisible stitches. So you want to come down as close as you can to your leg, and you're gonna pop out into the leg. So when you pull this, it's gonna get sucked underneath the leg, so you shouldn't be able to see it. I may try to stay on camera. I know I always struggle to stay on camera. So go down into the doll. Oh, might be a little tough. Make sure you're pulling snugly. So that's how I would suggest that you sew yours on, but if you know how to sew, then you don't need my suggestion. And I will meet you back here. Don't sew the top of the legs, just sew the bottom of the legs, and I'll meet you back here when you're done. So I'm pretty much done with this one leg. I haven't done my other one yet, but I wanted to just show you that you can just go down somewhere and pop out into the green. So that's where you can do your weaving. Oh, I just got wrapped around my leg. My other leg. Alright. So pull nice and snug. And then you can just use your green coat to do your weaving back and forth. And then on top of your weaving, tie your knot like we usually, well, I usually do. You don't have to, I suppose. I'm going to go back this way again. So again, we're just going in multiple directions. We're just trying to confuse the yarn. If you've got a lot left, like I do, you can go for as long as you want as far as weaving goes. But because I don't feel like doing that, I'm just going to do my knot. The knot should keep it secure. The weaving should keep it secure. I can get it down there. So I'm going to go and sew my other leg on, and I'll meet you back here. So this is what my little funny guy looks like now. So we'll do the arms next. They're so fast and we don't stuff them or anything. So we'll get those out of the way. And then we could probably do some hair. The last thing literally is going to be the hat. So we'll get all the beard done and everything before the hat, because I think with the hat on it's just going to be awkward. So let's move on. Make the arms, so that gets no stuffing. I can put my stuffing away. So we're going to start with the skin color. You're going to make a magic ring, and you're going to put 6 single crochets into that magic ring. you're going to put 2 single crochets in each of those stitches around. So you can count to 12, or you can use a stitch marker. If you're going to use a stitch marker, you got to put it in after the first stitch, not the second one. And that's my 12. So for the next 2 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of those 12 stitches. So you can use the stitch marker, or you can count to 24. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochet and a decrease. Decreasing already, it's just a tiny little arm. 2 single crochets and then your decrease. So this is going to take you down to 9 stitches, and I know you're probably wondering, why did I just go up to 12 to turn around and go back down to 9? It's just the shape that I want. So even though I didn't really go anywhere with it, it's the shape that I wanted. So if you can't finish your sequence, just put a single crochet in there. So that's the beginning of our hand. I'm just going to pull on my middle here, just to make sure it's fully closed again, because that's kind of going to be what you see on the outside, just like the nose. So we're going to do 10 rows altogether for the arm. However, we're going to do 1 more row of the skin color, and then we're going to do 9 rows of the coat color to make a sleeve. So because I'm changing colors, I'm going to start weaving. I only got 3 stitches left, so I'm just going to weave in a bit of this green. So now you're going to switch colors, so you're going to switch. I'm going to drop the brown. Make sure I'm on the right side. I'm going to drop the brown. I'm going to weave the brown in for a bit. But pull that. Make sure that's tight before you start. So make your stitch, making sure you're weaving in that. Now you don't technically need a stitch marker for 2 reasons. You're only counting to 9. And second is because you've got where you've switched colors, so you don't technically need it. I'm just doing it for the video. So you've got 9 stitches to go. We're going to do 9 rows with our coat color. So you should have 10 all together, plus the other rows that we did increasing. So do that, and I will put my pause screen up to let you know what you're doing right now, and then the pattern to make the arm. And I'll meet you back here. You can sew the top shut. We're not stuffing it, so you don't have to stuff it. You can just sew the top shut, and then I'll meet you back here to sew it all on. Okie dokie, Smokey. Done my second arm. I'm going to go in and fasten off. I'm going to keep a sewing tail. Doesn't have to be much. It's just a wee little thing. So we're not stuffing this. This arm is just going to hang by his side of his body. So go into your next stitch. You're going to pull this through. Because we don't want any lumps when we sew it. So you're going to do it the same way you did the legs. Not stuffing it, at all. So figure out where you want his arm to be. Look at me with the pins. All you guys that have been following me, watching me use no pins ever. So once you can sew it on like that too if you want. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You're doing hidden stitches if you do hidden stitches, so it's not like you're even going to see them in the brown. So you're going to sew right at the neck. But if you do hidden stitches, so you just come down as close as you can. When you pull, it's going to suck the stitch up underneath. And again, just kind of give a nice, hold this, give a nice snug pull. And that's your arm. So we're gonna weave and then sew our other arm on, and I'll meet you back here. So there's my little guy with his little arms. Isn't he getting adorable? So you can just go like this, make his arms do whatever they want. Just because they don't have stuffing in them doesn't mean you can't maneuver them. So let's do some hair. Okay, so don't think I'm nuts, but remember, I'm going to do an Irish. We have an Irish household here, so I'm going to do, which means his hair is going to be, I found this copper color. You can do yours white, like the other guys I did with the white beards, so you can do that. You don't need to do what I'm doing. But this is Line brand, which is a nice brand. It's great to work with. Vanna White, don't you know? Is there a color somewhere? Oh geez, the color is just rust. That's all it says. So that's the color I'm going to use because it's a nice copper color. Actually, it's not nice. I think it's ugly as hell. But that's what I'm going to use for the hair because, you know, he's Irish. So I'm going to set him aside. Actually, I'm not going to set him aside. We're going to put the beard all along here. So the hat's going to be sewn on to here. So you can fill the beard in. Now, I didn't go. Keep picking my guy up by the nose. So I didn't go that far. I went to there and then I stopped. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think there's 8 posts that I went around. Same with the other side. And then but I did go all the way down almost to his clothes. So that's what I did for his beard, and it turned out pretty good. Other than the material I used didn't brush out very well, but hopefully this brushes out okay. I'm going to use a different brush than I did the last time, so if that gives you any indication. So when I attach hair, I use a latch hook. It's got a little latch right here. It's for rug hooking. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways you can do it with your needle and then with the latch hook. I use the latch hook because it's way faster. So if you've followed me before, you know that I like to cook my hair. I'm not cooking my hair for beards. I do it for if I want to make curly hair mostly. I'm just going to take this and wrap it around my 4 fingers a lot. So once I have a lot done, which isn't really a whole lot, I'll probably have to do more. I have no idea, but I'm just going to start with this. Cut right down the center, just like that. You can trim your beard after. You don't have to worry about it now. So, to use my latch hook, put it around the hook like this, so underneath the latch. I go into my doll. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to go out 6. So I'm going to go pick up that post. My latch is going to be on the other side of it. And then I'm going to wrap these 2 pieces right around there like that. And then I'm going to pull through. So the latch closes and then it does that. And then I just tighten it down. If you don't have a latch hook, find whatever hook. I'm just going to use the one I was using. Same concept, it's just, in my opinion, slower. So you're gonna go in. It's almost the same concept, but it's not. So you're gonna pull through with your hook, then you're gonna wrap it, and then you're gonna make almost like a stitch. So that's how that knot comes out, whereas that's how my knot comes out. So that's all it boils down to, is the knots. So I'm going to take that out because I don't like the knot. I actually like the look I get with the latch hook. So those are the 2 ways that you can do it. So I'm probably not going to do a whole lot of beard with you because it's just going to be too difficult, especially on my back. But I will do some, but I'll probably speed up the video. So I'll meet you back here after our hair's done, and then we can brush it all out together. It shouldn't take long, it's just a beard. Try to keep it even when you put it on here like this. Just saves on your, I mean, if you want the layered look, I guess. You don't have to if you want your beard to look like it has a layered look. All right, this is my guy. So we are not going to trim it yet. We're going to brush it first. So I'll show you where I did 6 across, and then literally right under his nose, and then I went down that far, left a couple of rows. So that's how much I got. So now we brush. I should have did this as a Scottish Highlander with his messy beard. So it's up to you how much you want brushed out. This Lion brand doesn't really brush out all that great. Of course, you can help it along by unraveling some of the tougher ones. It's time consuming, but at the end of the day, if you want it all brushed out, that's the sacrifices you're gonna have to make. Alright, I love my beard. It's great. It was a bit of work. And I probably have some that probably aren't completely, there's one right there, not completely pulled apart. But that's fine. I love this beard. So, we're just going to trim our beard. I'll see, I got a bit back here I still need to brush out, but You're gonna have all kinds of fuzzies as well as these extra long pieces. So you're gonna probably want to give him a wee bit of a haircut, but I wouldn't give him too much, maybe just so his coat shows a little bit better, because right now we're kind of hiding the coat that we did. I almost cut my arm off. The coat that we spent so much time doing is covered a wee bit, so we just want to uncover it. That is looking better. My accent's horrible. Denifash. That's Gaelic for don't worry about it. Okay, there's my wee guy. To my wee Irish lad. Actually, my husband is Irish and I am Scottish. So I'm not sure what that horrible accent was. Could have been both. One or the other. I could just trim all day. I don't want to trim his beard too short. I want this coat to be exposed a little bit. There's my wee Irish lad. Now all that's left is to do the cap. Bad accent. Alright. The cap. So, the hat, the last and final thing. So you can make a magic ring and you can put 8 single crochets. So we need the tippy top of it to be pointy. So we're not going to do our regular 2 single crochets in each stitch around. We're going to do 2 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch around. And that's going to help us keep that point. So I can just turn it inside out. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So we're increasing is going to be really slow. We're not going to go up in like large numbers because we need the hat to be really long. So we started with 6 stitches. This will give you 11 stitches. So that's my 1 single crochet. And then your increase of 2 in this next hole. So your next round is 2 single crochets and an increase. That'll give you 16 stitches, and then you can do 1 single crochet in each of those 16 stitches for your next round. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. And that should take you to 20 stitches. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase, and then 2 rows of just regular crochets. Again, just follow my screens. So this should bring you up to 24 stitches. So you guessed it, your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase, which will bring you to 28 stitches, plus your 2 rounds after that of 1 single crochet in each of those 28 stitches. So your next round is going to be 7 single crochets and an increase. So your next round is going to be 12 single crochets and an increase. And that takes you up to 56 stitches. And then after that, it's just going to be 1 row of 1 single crochet in each of those 56 stitches. And I'll see you on the other side. Hi, so I'm done all my rows. I did my 14 single crochet increase, so I have 64 stitches. I'm going to go into the next stitch. I'm going to slip stitch. I'm going to fasten off. So you're going to want to fasten off with a long sewing tail. That might be too long, but you never know. I have extra for weaving. Probably have to cut off a mile, but so once you're done that, you're going to go into the next stitch and pull that through. Oh my good lord. So I didn't do 1 single crochet in each stitch around because I want it to look like this, you know, the dippy down parts where you did your increases. I think that's pretty cool. So get your hat situated. I'm going to put my thing at the back. So get your hat where you want it. I like to have mine right down. I'm going to pin this in place. I'm probably not going to sew all of this on with you because it's just too much. So I'm just going to pin this around like that, and then I'm going to pin it to his head. I don't think that's really going to hold. Bigger pins. So there's not a whole lot of head to sew this to. So we're not sewing around the bottom here. You're going to sew right into the head itself. So mark those spots with pins just to be sure you're going to hit the head. And then up here you've got all this head up here you can go into. So you're just going to have to go back and forth and back and forth. You're not going to be able to do hidden stitches or anything like that. You're just going to have to go in and out, in and out, in and out. So I'm going to first go into the doll underneath this part, and I'm just going to try to angle it out into the head part. There's really no other way to sew this on that I know of, but when I come back around, after I go through a couple of times and then come back down, I am going to sew this whole back part to his coat. You don't have to. I'm going to. So you just got to make sure you're staying in the head. So when you go in as close as you can to your lead. That way it just looks like a crochet stitch. And then pop out wherever you pop out. So we're just basically weaving And I got a lot of yarn. So when I pull, that's just going to look like a crochet stitch. No one's going to notice that it's a sewing stitch. So that's what you're going to do, back and forth, and making sure you just get into the head. So that's kind of dented because I was holding my finger, and you can just pop that out like that. You can pop all your stuff out. Stuck on my needle, or on my pin. Anyway, go ahead and sew your hat on, and I'll meet you right back here. So I went all the way around my hat. I just come down. I'm just going to put a couple of stitches going down into the doll, coming up. I'm just going to put a couple of stitches down here just to hold. You don't need to go all the way across. I just want to, you know, make sure it's nice and snug. I guess being on camera might be a little more helpful. Pull all my pins out, so I went right along there. It's hard to see. So I'm just going to weave a couple of times into the body area, and then I'm going to cut. I'm gonna do my not that people are going to be tugging on this hat or anything, but I'm going to do my knot. Cut a little bit more off, and then just poke that guy down. So because I pulled in a couple of places, I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm just going to lift up on those places that I might have a little bit of a divot. There. There's my little guy. I love my Irish guy. Anyway. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.